Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the interview.
Blessings, big blessings.
What's your name?
Naj Mahal.
Naj Mahal. Where you get that name from?
Good question. My cousin gave it to me in the Lower East Side. He basically just said, like, listen, you do things to make people remember you. So I'm gonna call you Naj Mahal, which reminds him of the Taj Mahal because every time, we went to Atlantic City, one thing you always remember is the Taj Mahal. Like, if you could name one thing in Atlantic City, it's the Taj Mahal. So he was like, yo, your name is Naj Mahal. I just ran with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which comes from my first name, Naji, which means complete in African Arabic. So definitely. Yeah.
Wow. Where you come from?
I was born in the Lower East Side, Manhattan, Madison Street, Valdeck Projects. I grew up in the Bronx as well too. I grew up in Brooklyn, and I grew up in Left Rack City, Queens as well too. So I was just basically all over the whole city, from Harlem to Washington Heights, but born in the Lower East Side, Manhattan, and grew up in the Bronx mostly.
Okay, so you basically New York City.
The whole New York City, the whole town. Feel me? All the towns. You feel me? All the boroughs, everywhere in the city. It's a fact.
So, how did New York shape you as a child?
Oh, as a child? Oh, man.
Because I know New York is hectic sometimes.
Right.
I know it can get crazy.
Most definitely.
So, I know growing up as a child, it definitely showed you some things at a young age.
Oh, no.
So I want you to elaborate on all of that.
All right, so in New York City, it's a fast-paced place, right? So with that being said, everything is happening very fast. Like you could be walking to school, someone's getting robbed, blah, blah, blah. You could be walking to school and someone's buying a building. You know what I'm saying? So you have different levels of things that's going on at the same time in New York City, which is wild. But how it shaped me was being able to see both aspects of life and see it in many perspectives. So it gave me the opportunity to make a decision and say, hey, how do you want your life to be? You know what I'm saying? Because you see what that's about and you see what this is about. So what fits you? What suits you? And I chose the life of prosperity just because when I seen people being prosperous as a kid and doing different things and, creating, I was always drawn to that. Like I grew up seeing violence, I grew up seeing drugs, I grew up seeing a whole bunch of things, but I wasn't drawn to that. That was more so that's what I don't want. So what I do want, I'm only focused on that. And when you're a kid, you're using your imagination at its highest level. So I'm imagining buying my mom a house and having a lake with the turtles and the fish in the back, you know what I'm saying? So with having both perspectives in life and seeing what this is and what that is, it carved me out to be the person I am today.
Okay. So growing up as a kid, you had all of these paths that you could have gone down and seen daily.
Right.
But you focused on the one thing that you wanted, which was prosperity.
Right.
So with that being said, everything was around you, but being that, you still kept forward with the dream and the goal.
Exactly.
And that taught you things because it was like, you might go talk to the person on the side of the road selling drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You might go talk to that person that just got robbed.
Right.
You might encounter some of these things.
Right.
So it's teaching you how to move in a fast-paced environment as well as it's keeping you on your journey. Because it's showing you what you don't want.
Exactly.
So with that, how did you get into the music? Like what inspired you? Like what was the first thing that happened with music ever in your whole entire life?
That's a great question. So it's so amazing because I can still remember the smell in this place I'm about to describe, in the situation I'm about to describe. I was a young kid, and I was in the park with my mom. There was a young lady in the park, and this is in the Lower East Side, Manhattan, you know, around the way where I'm from, Madison Street. So the lady asked my mom, like, "Hey, that's your kid?" And my mom was like, "Yeah, that's my son." She was like, "Oh, you know how it goes. Handsome, such and such." She said, "Oh, thank you." So she tells her there's this new artist coming to shoot her video. You know, he would definitely be a great fit for it. So she's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Yeah. Her name is Mariah Carey. You know, she's a new artist. You know, this is her first video." So I was like, "Oh, okay, no problem. Where's it gonna be?" She's like, "Oh, right here in the Lower East Side," which is basically a couple blocks up, not too far at a church. So I don't remember the photo shoot, but I do remember the day of the video shoot, because I remember being in the cafeteria, and I just remember smelling this aroma of incense, and it was just an incense that I never smelled before, and it was just very unique. And I just remember being in the cafeteria, and I took someone's hat and started dancing, and they just grabbed me and put me in the video. So I was in Mariah Carey's very first video called "Make It Happen," which gave me that sense of energy and reflection of who I was going to be, you know, what my journey was going to be like. I know as a kid, you know, you're not thinking about your profession or anything like that, but what you see and what you're doing or dealing with at that moment, you're going to live in that, plus more, you know, by using your imagination. So by being there, you know, I was just able to see what I may want for my life as a kid, which was a true blessing. So that's what gave me the energy to actually make music. That was like that was the start of it. But when I realized that I love to make music and be creative in music, was hearing Missy Elliott and reenacting Missy Elliott's record.
How old were you when that happened?
I was about 8. About the Missy Elliott?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 8. I was about 8. Yep.
Okay. So how many years in between the video shoot to when you decided to?
4.
So 4 years.
4 years.
Okay. So did you have any like role models or mentors or musical influences that you looked up to consistently? Started when you were 8, like when you started doing that shit and you figured out what you have your passion for?
Oh yes, most definitely. Pardon me. Most definitely, I would say Missy Elliott, of course, LL Cool J, Biggie, and then as I got a little older, that came into Pharrell and Kanye. So that group right there was like the inspiration for me. That was the inspiration to say, hey, oh, life is so possible, anything is so possible, especially when you do it in your own unique way. So that's what I've seen in those artists. They were all unique. They were not the same at all, none of them. So with that being said, the uniqueness is everything about a person. So that's what I dove right into. Like, it was that. It was that right there. Those 5 right there for sure.
Okay.
Consistently. Yeah.
Who was your favorite out of all of those? If you like, I know all 5 were cool and influenced you heavy, but who was like the number one? Like, if you could listen to anybody for the rest of your life at that time, who was it?
Kanye.
Kanye. Why?
Kanye has, pardon me, a energy I've never seen before. he is so unique. Sometimes I feel like he don't know how unique he is. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but it's just, you know, when you're out on the outside looking in, you're viewing someone and, all right, let me say this. I have this thing, right, where I can see people's truest gifts, whether you want to believe it or not. But I can see past what a person is, if that makes sense. And from the moment I listened to Kanye or even seen Kanye, I knew he was a genius. And once I seen his second elevation, which was even late registration, that's how I knew, like, this is a guy I should pay attention to, because he understands who he is. He knows that he's the artist, he knows he's the producer, he knows he's the designer, he knows he's all of these things above, and he never cut himself short. He always spoke highly of himself, and I love that. And he wasn't humble about being him, you know? And I've never seen that in other artists. So Kanye would definitely be my number one for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you get started in music? Like when was your first record you ever made?
So I went to Humanities High School between 8th and 9th Avenue on 18th Street in Manhattan, New York City. So I was talking to this young lady, and I walked into her class, and I realized that she had a music class. So I was like, yo, you got a music class in here? She was like, yeah, we have a studio, like a studio in here too. I'm like, get out of here. That same day I found out they had a studio, I ended up staying in the class and just telling the teacher, like, hey, I'm just waiting for my new program card, you know what I'm saying? But my guidance counselor sent me here just to, you know, get my music credit up. And he went for it for like a week. He went for it for like a week, and then it came to a point, he was like, yo, look, man, you gotta get your program card. So like, I can't have you in this class if you don't got no program card, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man. So, you know, I could have just let that been a thing. I was just there, you know, and he told me to get a program card, and I could have left it alone. But with me being me, I went straight to my guidance counselor, and I'm like, listen, Miss Matt, shout out to Miss Matt. Bless you, Queen, wherever you are, bless you. I was like, Miss Matt, there's this music class in here, and I need this class. She said, for real? You really want to be in there? I said, yeah. She had my program card switched the next day. That's how real Miss Matt was. You feel me? Like, true queen. Like, love that lady. You feel me? She made things happen as a guidance counselor. If they had guidance counselor awards and shit, she needed Miss Matt. You know what I'm saying? But, so she changed it, and I came back, and that next week, we had to do a class assignment, and we had to make a song. So I ended up just making a song, and you know, I had to do it in it was like 5 different groups of 3, I believe. So it was me, a guy, and a girl, and I ended up writing my verse, the other guy verse, and the girl verse. That's a fact.
Now, were you writing before any of this happened? Were you like messing with music, freestyling, writing poems?
No.
No? You weren't doing nothing?
No.
You were just watching cartoons and just being a kid, doing your thing.
I was just being a teenager, like, cause this is high school at the time. Yeah. And I was rocking with the girls, like, you know what I'm saying?
So from 8 to this day, and this week that you had in the studio,
I never wrote a song. I've never wrote a poem. I've never tried to freestyle. Never.
I have peace when the sun look at me. I have peace when I go to sleep. I have peace when the sun look at me. I have peace when I go to sleep. I do. Success and wealth all in me.